I'm trying to set up a daycare centre in Cardiff, and what you're doing here is very, very attractive to me, and I can see the sense of it from having been in the recovery community myself for many, many years and seen some of the pitfalls and so forth and what is happening. What advice would you give me?
Well, the first thing is, and this may seem overly simplistic, but if you want to have a recovery community organization, you need to organize the recovery community.
Right.
So you need to have a lot of champions and people that are like-minded, that think as you think, and are also willing to put advocacy out there.
Right.
And that's where we started. So I'm coming from that point of view, is that we organized the recovery community to talk about issues that were of importance to us, offer ourselves as living proof that recovery is real. We started to talk early on about the need for recovery support services, and now that we got there, we had a core base that we're able to provide these services, because not everybody wants to get out and put their face on recovery. There's people that are wired to do that and people that are wired to be of service.
How did the idea come about, first of all, that this was the right approach?
Well, we were lucky enough when we were in a round of federal grant funding, and one of the other groups dropped out. So the remaining groups got some money, like $25,000, to do what they wanted. And so we went to the recovery community and asked them what they would like to do. And they thought if we could open a recovery community center, a place where they could go during the day that was safe, a recovery-oriented sanctuary in the heart of the community, where they could go where they would be safe and they could work on their recovery. Things like building their resume, working on getting employment, having recovery support meetings, being helped to another recovering alcoholic or addict, a place just where they were safe. Recovery was spoken there 24/7, that would be something desirable. And so we looked into it, and we were able to open the recovery center, which you visited, out in Willimantic. And as that evolved, we made our model based on that, and have opened 3 others. One, unfortunately, is closed right now due to funding issues. But we have 3 up and running and hope to open many more over the next several years. We think every major metropolitan area or city could use at least one in their town, just because you can see the activity that these generate. Mm-hmm. I talk a lot about it like in the movie The Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. And once they see that sign out there that there's recovery on Main Street, the people just start to be attracted to it, and a warm, comfortable, inviting place where they know hope and healing happens. The center itself will take on kind of the character and personality of the people who are leading it. Like out in Willimantic, Diane runs that one, and it's very warm and maternalistic, if you will, because she's that type of personality. Michael is a very noble African-American male down in Bridgeport, and those are the kind of people that are attracted there, that are much more ethnic and diverse. And Lori, who's here, is a very gregarious, open, caring, concerned, and that translates for a lot of people. And so that was a learning that each center has a personality of its own. However, we built certain structure to it. There's a guy named William Lofquist in prevention circles that talks about having a prescribed structure and a developmental process. So you want to have a prescribed structure, which is things like you'll make telephone recovery support calls, you'll hold all recovery meetings, just some rules and guidelines, you'll have a computer lab. And then the rest is up to the recovery community themselves, what other programming they want to put in there, what time things are scheduled, what kind of social events they want to do and be a part of. So it's remarkable to see how it keeps evolving and changing. I think the mistakes that other organizations have made that I found out is what I mentioned earlier, that they either have like a paid clinical staff
Right.
that tries to open up a recovery community center, and there's no recovery community involved.
Right.
And you have to have the involvement of that recovery community in order for it to work. Because there has to be volunteerism. And you've seen what a big role volunteerism plays. And when you're talking 275 people or so giving close to 15,000 hours of service every year, you see there's a real need for people to give back. And they give back in order to keep it. And this is another way for people to do that in the community that's recovery oriented. And we've really tapped into that, and that's also another kind of the energy or driving force that makes this whole operation go. We had volunteers, but we didn't have any formal volunteer management system.
Right.
So I think the first year there was like 60 that registered.
Right.
And we're up to 275. We have a pool of that are active, but we have a pool of about 650 volunteers. Not all of those are active at any given time.
So how do you organize that pool? How difficult is it to organize? Because
Well, when I took over as executive director in 2004, the first thing I wanted to do was formalize the volunteer management system. And we modeled it after major hospitals. So you come in and it's the same thing. You get interviewed, screened, a job description. You also are able to record your hours, and you're recognized and celebrated and supervised. So it's all the process is very formal and studied and tried and true, and it works. And we're able to keep track of all this, and one of the biggest celebrations every year is in April at our volunteer recognition event, where it's all about the volunteers, and we have great entertainment, and we recognize them with certificates and pins, and have them have their pictures taken and all that. It's a wonderful event, because they're what makes the organization go. So there's ways to do it. It's nothing we invented. I mean, it was all already created.
so what's the future now for CCAR? Where do you see it evolving and developing?
There's always room for more recovery community centers, and so and the key to that is getting enough funding to operate each and every one. We've wrestled with opening a recovery community center volunteer only. I don't think that will work, because you need the structure of a paid staff person in each center, or staff people, to really make sure it's running and have that responsibility. So that's where the funding comes in, to pay for the people to run the center and for the physical site itself. And there are basic supplies and utilities. So the future is to open more recovery centers, and I don't know how many. Connecticut is a relatively small state in the United States, and we could easily hold 15 to 20, if not more. So it depends there. I also think there's, just with being around for the last 11, 12 years and having this experience as an advocacy group and as a deliverer of peer-to-peer recovery support services, that there's a lot of call for what we've learned all over the world now, really. And we see ourselves as expanding our consulting business and doing a lot of that. We have a wonderful database, findrecoveryhousing.com, that's poised to go across the entire United States. A ton of work to do there. Wouldn't it be wonderful to get every sober house listed on that website, so that anybody looking for a safe place to live, all they had to do was just go to the web and search and get a phone number and find a place to live. So many things, and really when you think about telephone recovery support and the implications that has down the road, to build that into areas of like text messaging, and have we really explored social media, kind of the new frontier, and social networks, and where recovery can go there, or formal organized recovery using those mediums is yet to be explored. So really it's and you know, I say that, and that comes somewhat from my perspective, but what this organization has always embraced is leading from the spirit and the spiritual component of all this. And the doors for us to walk through are pretty apparent to me and the staff here and the management team. And we walk through those doors and don't try to keep banging on the doors that are closed. And we also believe that if we conduct ourselves with utmost integrity, honesty, transparency, that the funding will follow. And that this spiritual component of our organization has proven true so far. And the state funds us because we've been that way and because we have outstanding results. So, you know, it's kind of like asking me what the future holds. Well, you know, part of me has to ask God and be ready to see where He leads us. And that's exciting in and of itself.
Thank you, Mama. Hi, how are you today?
How are you today?
Very well, thank you.
His name is Winford.
Winford.
Yeah, Winford. Yes, we've just a little office there, and
Don't forget my little plants.
oh, and the plants are up there.
See, they got life too.
They've got a life too.